Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone's words or actions left you feeling small, disrespected, or outright dismissed? Maybe it was a co-worker who constantly interrupted you, a friend who only called when they needed something, or a stranger who crossed a line they had no right to. Whatever the case, those moments can linger, and what truly defines us is how we choose to respond. Welcome back to Stoic Secrets, where timeless wisdom meets modern life. In today's video, we're diving deep into 8 powerful ways to handle people who don't respect you, using practical lessons drawn from the enduring philosophy of Stoicism. This isn't about revenge, getting even, or teaching them a lesson they'll never forget. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, the ultimate power lies in refusing to let others pull you down to their level. Life will inevitably introduce us to difficult people, those who test our patience, challenge our boundaries, and sometimes make us question our self-worth. But here's the truth: you get to decide whether their behavior dictates your inner peace. Will you let their disrespect shape your mood, your day, even your identity? Or will you rise above it, stand firm in your values, and protect your sense of well-being? Before we get into these 8 practical strategies, take a moment to reflect. How do you typically handle disrespect? Do you confront it head-on? Do you quietly walk away? Or do you respond with calm, deliberate silence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's learn and grow together by sharing the lessons that have shaped us. And if you're ready to master these Stoic strategies for personal strength and inner calm, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Let's dive in. 1. Set clear boundaries. The first and perhaps most crucial step in dealing with people who don't respect you is setting firm, unmistakable boundaries. Modern Stoicism teaches us that boundaries aren't optional, they're essential to preserving your inner peace and self-respect. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's great thinkers, wisely reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Setting boundaries isn't about passively hoping others will eventually notice your discomfort and change their ways. It's about actively communicating what is acceptable and what isn't, to yourself and to the people around you. Think about it this way: every time you allow disrespect without consequence, you're silently granting permission for that behavior to continue. People often treat us according to the standards we set. I've fallen into this trap myself more times than I care to admit, believing that if I were just a little kinder, a little more accommodating, people would naturally respect me. But kindness without strength is often mistaken for weakness. Modern Stoicism teaches us that true sovereignty over our lives lies in our ability to draw clear lines and stand by them. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully: a person's worth is measured by the worth of what they value. If you value respect, you must be willing to demand it, calmly, clearly, and consistently. This doesn't mean meeting aggression with aggression. It means speaking with unwavering clarity. Picture a situation where a colleague repeatedly talks over you in meetings. If you let it slide, it's likely to continue. But if you address it directly, perhaps by saying, "I value respect in conversations. I'd appreciate it if you'd allow me to finish before responding," you instantly shift the dynamic. Sure, it might feel uncomfortable in the moment. You might worry about seeming confrontational or dramatic. But discomfort is fleeting, and the long-term benefits of establishing firm boundaries far outweigh the temporary awkwardness of a difficult conversation. Every time you stand up for yourself, you reinforce your own self-respect. And that, in turn, shapes how others will treat you moving forward. The philosophy of Stoicism encourages us to take ownership of our interactions by being assertive without aggression. A calm, Measured demeanor reflects mastery over your emotions, a signal that you're in control of yourself and your environment. When you set boundaries, you're not just protecting your space. You're sending a message to the world that you value yourself enough to defend your peace. And believe me, that kind of energy is powerful. As we discussed earlier, setting clear boundaries is the first step toward reclaiming your peace and commanding respect. But maintaining those boundaries with grace and composure is where the real mastery lies. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca once wisely observed, "No man can have a peaceful life who thinks too much about lengthening it." In much the same way, if we spend our precious time and energy trying to please, appease, or accommodate those who persist in disrespecting us, we inevitably lose sight of the tranquility we so deeply seek. It's like carrying water in a cracked vessel. No matter how much effort you put in, the peace steadily leaks away. The real art lies in walking the fine line between assertiveness and aggression. This delicate balance ensures we stay in control, not only of the situation itself but also of our emotional state. Stoic secrets teach us that true strength isn't about raising your voice or striking back in anger. In fact, those impulsive reactions only weaken your position and give power to the person who disrespected you. Instead, it's through calm, steady, and resolute action that we quietly command the respect of others. Imagine a still lake, the surface undisturbed, reflecting the sky. That's the kind of composure we aim to maintain when faced with disrespect. Boundaries aren't just lines we draw for others, they're reflections of our own self-discipline. Our priorities, and our values. People tend to respect those who clearly respect themselves. And nothing signals self-respect more powerfully than standing firm, even in uncomfortable moments, while it might feel uneasy at first. Like stepping onto a stage for the very first time. The discomfort gradually fades with practice. Meanwhile, the rewards, self-confidence, peace of mind, and healthier relationships, quietly multiply over time. Picture this: a close friend has developed a habit of making subtle, belittling remarks whenever you're together. Perhaps it started as light teasing, but over time it's chipped away at your confidence. Now, imagine telling them, "I really enjoy our time together, but those comments aren't something I'm willing to tolerate." In that moment, you reshape the dynamic between you. You're no longer passively enduring discomfort, you're actively ensuring that future interactions reflect the respect you deserve. In modern Stoicism, boundaries aren't just barriers meant to shut people out. They're frameworks that help define the kind of life we choose to lead. When you claim ownership of your boundaries, you also claim ownership of your emotional well-being. And that is no small thing. Yes, standing up for yourself in this way can be difficult at first. It can feel like swimming against a strong current. But over time, as your confidence grows and your inner peace takes root, you'll realize you're no longer at the mercy of other people's moods, actions, or careless words. You become the steady hand on the wheel of your own life. Even in moments when confrontation is unavoidable, whether it's a boss who consistently oversteps their authority or a relative who disregards your wishes, your response must reflect dignity, calmness, and self-respect. Every act of setting a boundary teaches you a vital truth: respect isn't something you can demand from others. It must be earned, and it always begins within. If you wish to command the respect of others, you must first demonstrate that you respect yourself enough to defend your values. Every conversation, every interaction, every difficult moment becomes an opportunity to reinforce those principles. And with each boundary you uphold, you move one step closer to living in alignment with your true self. It's important to remember that not every boundary you set will be welcomed. Some people might push back, test you, or even distance themselves. And that's perfectly fine. The goal was never to please everyone, but to protect your peace and safeguard your integrity. As you navigate these moments, remind yourself, the temporary discomfort of asserting yourself today will bring the lasting respect you crave tomorrow. The wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca teaches us that life's challenges are tests of character. They're moments when we're called to decide, will we let external forces determine our worth? Or will we remain faithful to the values that define who we are? This process isn't solely about managing other people. It's about managing yourself. Modern Stoicism urges us to stay grounded, to resist the impulse to react emotionally or aggressively. Instead, we respond with calm, clear, and collected action. That, more than anything else, is the mark of true wisdom and strength. While setting boundaries may not immediately transform other people's behavior, it will unquestionably transform how you see yourself. And ultimately, that's where real, lasting change begins. By taking control of how others treat you, you lay down the foundation for genuine personal growth, deeper happiness, and a life lived on your own terms. Following that, once you've established firm boundaries and learned to stay calm in the face of disrespect, the next important step is to avoid getting caught up in pointless power struggles. Here's a hard truth that many of us don't like to admit, but it's crucial. People who frequently disrespect you often thrive on power games. They know exactly how to push your buttons, provoke you, and drag you into arguments where the real goal isn't to resolve anything, it's to make you lose your composure. The moment you become defensive, angry, or upset, you've handed them exactly what they wanted: control over your emotions. Engaging in these power plays doesn't just drain your energy, it also distracts you from what truly matters: protecting your peace of mind. As difficult as it might be, one of the core principles of Stoicism is learning to stay calm, composed, and emotionally steady in the face of provocation. But here's the key: this calmness doesn't mean allowing others to mistreat you or pretending not to notice. It means recognizing that you, and only you, control your reactions, not them. Picture this: you're in a meeting at work, and a colleague rudely dismisses your idea in front of everyone. Naturally, your first instinct might be to fire back a sarcastic remark or demand an apology right then and there. But what if, instead of falling for their power play, you paused for a moment, took a deep breath, and responded with calm, measured logic? You might say something like, "I see your point, but here's why I believe my idea still holds value." And if they persist with their rudeness, you can calmly end the conversation there, knowing your composure has left them with no ammunition to keep pushing. This kind of response doesn't just protect your dignity, it also quietly communicates strength, a strength built not on confrontation, but on restraint. When following Stoic principles, it's vital to remember that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every rude comment deserves a response. Because each time you engage with someone who disrespects you, you're essentially giving them free access to your mind and emotions. In today's modern world, filled with competitive workplaces, complicated relationships, and the constant noise of social media, these situations are everywhere. From co-workers and friends to strangers online, there will always be people ready to test your boundaries just to see how you'll react. And here's the secret: their power only exists when you give it to them by playing along. Now, avoiding conflict doesn't mean you have to stay silent. Sometimes, it simply means saying enough to hold your ground without feeding the drama. A calm, clear statement like, "I'm not going to argue about this," followed by walking away, can be incredibly powerful. It preserves your inner peace, sends a clear message that you won't be manipulated, and leaves the other person with no leverage. As Epictetus wisely said, It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Adopting this mindset helps you avoid unnecessary conflicts and build a resilient mental foundation, a mind as steady as iron in the face of petty provocations. And in modern life, this principle is especially useful. Think about those heated social media debates where people try to bait you into pointless arguments. Or those holiday gatherings when a family member makes a disrespectful remark just to test your patience. It's so easy to fall into the trap of reacting emotionally, believing you have to win every verbal exchange to maintain your self-respect. But Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies in mastering ourselves, not others. When you walk away from a pointless power struggle, you're not surrendering, you're claiming victory over your emotions and over the urge to control what others think or say about you. And the beauty of this approach is that it's not just about avoiding conflict. It's about creating space for something far more valuable, real, inner power. Because when you learn to protect your peace in a noisy world, that's a kind of strength no one can take from you. And as you gradually get used to not reacting to meaningless provocations, you'll start to notice something remarkable happening within yourself. You begin to develop a kind of emotional immunity. The same things that once easily triggered you, leaving you frustrated or upset, no longer hold the same power over you. You come to realize that your dignity isn't tied to someone else's words or behavior. It's anchored in how you conduct yourself in the face of disrespect. This is the very essence of modern Stoicism. It's not about jumping into every argument to defend your pride. It's about focusing your energy on the one thing you can truly control: your mind, your emotions, and your reactions. So, the next time someone tries to push your buttons, maybe a coworker, a so-called friend, or even a random stranger you'll never see again, pause and ask yourself, is this really worth my time and energy? If the answer is no, then disengage with grace. Let them have their petty moment, while you hold on to your peace of mind, knowing that it's worth far more than scoring a verbal victory. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely said, the greatest power is often simple patience. When you refuse to be pulled into unnecessary power struggles, you quietly reclaim control over your life. Safeguard your mental energy, and send a clear message: your disrespect holds no power over me. And this is perhaps one of the deepest lessons from Stoic philosophy: you don't have to respond to every insult or slight, because your worth isn't dependent on anyone's approval. The real victory lies in mastering your own mind. When you embody this mindset, you cultivate what the Stoics call an iron mind, one that remains steady, undisturbed by the noise of the outside world, and focused only on what truly matters: your inner peace. Next, another essential principle comes into play: limit your exposure to those who don't respect you. Sometimes, the smartest way to deal with toxic people isn't through confrontation, but by quietly limiting how much time and energy you give them. Sure, there are relationships you can't completely avoid: co-workers, neighbors, even certain family members. But here's the truth: you still have the power to control how much space you allow them to take up in your mind and your life. Stoicism teaches us that protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's necessary for a balanced, meaningful life. As Seneca also pointed out, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. And it's true, most of our distress comes not from events themselves, but from letting the wrong people occupy too much space in our thoughts and emotions. If someone consistently disrespects you, the answer isn't always a dramatic confrontation. Often, it's about setting quiet, firm boundaries on the energy you invest in that relationship. This shift might seem small, but it's incredibly powerful. You don't need to announce your withdrawal to the world. Just calmly, quietly reduce your engagement. In modern life, it's so easy to feel trapped by obligations. Maybe you have a toxic coworker whose negativity poisons every conversation, or a so-called friend who belittles your opinions and leaves you feeling diminished every time you interact. You might find yourself thinking, "But I can't avoid them, I see them every day." The truth is, you can limit those interactions to what's absolutely necessary. Keep conversations brief, stick to essential matters, and resist getting pulled into unnecessary drama. In doing so, you protect your peace and prevent those draining personalities from claiming too much space in your mental and emotional world. Continuing from that, once you've started limiting your exposure to those who drain your energy, the next step is to be intentional about how you interact when you must. For example, at work, keep conversations strictly professional, focus on tasks, deadlines, or project updates. Maintain a polite, business-like tone, but don't feel obligated to engage beyond what's necessary. Outside the office, if the relationship doesn't contribute positively to your well-being, it's perfectly okay to decline casual invitations or unnecessary small talk. Your time and energy are precious. Reserve them for people who uplift you and for situations that reflect your values. Let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. A friend of mine, David, used to attend weekly family gatherings. And at every single one of those dinners, there was a relative who seemed determined to belittle David's career choices. Passive-aggressive remarks, condescending jokes about his lifestyle, it was a constant pattern. For years, David told himself, "Family is family. Better to keep the peace than stir up conflict." But slowly, the weight of those small insults started adding up. What were once pleasant Sunday afternoons turned into something he dreaded. Eventually, David reached a breaking point. He remembered a simple but powerful rule: if a relationship consistently drains more energy than it gives, it's time to limit it. So, without making a scene or offering lengthy explanations, he quietly reduced his attendance. He chose to show up only for major family events, the ones that truly mattered. And you know what? The difference was immediate. David felt lighter, freer, and far more at peace. His story is a reminder of how liberating it can be to quietly set boundaries with people who don't respect you. The beauty of this Stoic principle lies in its simplicity. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace. In fact, people who thrive on drama and disrespect often expect a reaction. It's how they hold power over others. But by choosing silence, by offering no resistance, you take that power away. You're not ghosting them. You're not severing ties altogether. What you're doing is adjusting the volume on the parts of your life that no longer serve you. Just because the noise exists doesn't mean you have to listen to it at full blast. Protecting your emotional space isn't about avoidance or weakness, it's about preserving your mental clarity and inner strength. Because here's the truth, every moment you spend with someone who disrespects you is a moment stolen from those who genuinely value, encourage, and uplift you. And the more you limit your exposure to negativity, the more space you create for meaningful, positive connections to enter your life. So ask yourself, are there people in your world who drain you more than they support you? What would happen if you gave yourself permission to gently pull back? Even just a little? Limiting exposure to toxic individuals isn't about being cold or avoiding confrontation. It's about recognizing that your time and energy are finite. The peace you protect today becomes the resilience and strength you'll carry into tomorrow. Seneca wisely reminds us, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Life is too short, and far too precious, to waste on relationships that dim your spirit. And here's the deeper wisdom: by quietly setting these boundaries, you're not just protecting yourself. You're also teaching others how you expect to be treated. It's a subtle but powerful act of self-respect. In the end, limiting your exposure to disrespectful people isn't just a strategy, it's a commitment to self-care. By thoughtfully choosing where and with whom you invest your energy, you reclaim control over your life and safeguard your inner peace. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't control the behavior of others, we always have power over our responses. And sometimes, the wisest, strongest response is simple: disengage. Preserve your calm, and keep walking forward, building on that idea of protecting your peace by setting boundaries. It's important to remember that this process isn't about dramatic confrontation or severing ties completely. It's simply about creating a little distance, deciding for yourself which relationships are truly worth your time and energy, and which ones no longer deserve a front row seat in your life. So, the next time you feel emotionally drained or weighed down by someone's behavior, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this relationship worth sacrificing my peace for? If the honest answer is no, then give yourself the grace and permission to quietly step back, making space for connections that genuinely uplift and nourish you. And before we wrap up today's video, I just want to say how much I truly appreciate you choosing to spend a part of your day with us here at Stoic Secrets. If you found value in what we shared, I'd love for you to drop a comment below, whether it's your own experience, a favorite takeaway, or even a simple, "I am Stoic." Every bit of interaction not only strengthens this community but also fuels our motivation to continue creating thoughtful, meaningful content for you. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you'll be the first to know whenever we release new videos. Let's keep learning, growing, and walking this Stoic path together, one steady step at a time. Now, let's move to one of the most overlooked yet powerful practices in modern Stoicism: responding with silence. Not every conflict deserves your attention, and not every rude remark warrants a reply. In fact, silence can often be your strongest response. Why? Because those who disrespect you are usually fishing for a reaction. Their goal is to gain control over your emotions, to pull you into their storm. But when you withhold that reaction, when you choose calm over chaos, you strip them of the very power they seek. As Marcus Aurelius wisely put it, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. By remaining silent, you show that you've risen above petty provocations. It's a quiet yet undeniable demonstration of strength, self-mastery, and a refusal to be dragged into meaningless disputes. Interestingly, this silence often leaves the other person stunned, grasping for the reaction they'll never receive. Picture this: you're at work, or perhaps at a family gathering, and someone makes a pointed, passive-aggressive remark designed to cut deep. Instinctively, you want to clap back, to set the record straight. But what if, instead, you paused, took a breath, and allowed the weight of silence to fill the room? That pause becomes a shield. It buys you precious seconds to regain control over your emotions and avoid saying something you might later regret. Most of the time, your silence will echo louder than any words could. It sends a clear, unspoken message: I won't lower myself to this. My peace matters too much. This is the very heart of Stoicism: remaining steady in the face of external chaos and choosing your response with wisdom. When someone disrespects you, what they're really trying to do is pull you into their emotional tug-of-war. But by choosing silence, you refuse to pick up the other end of the rope. And without your participation, the conflict dies on its own. You stay in control of your mind, your emotions, and your sense of inner calm. This idea isn't new. Epicurus once taught that it's not the event itself, but how we respond to it, that truly shapes our lives. In that sense, silence becomes your personal shield, breaking the cycle of conflict and setting an example for how you expect to be treated. And let's be honest, in today's hyperconnected, constantly triggered world, this principle has never been more valuable. Social media alone is a battlefield of opinions, provocations, and disrespectful comments. If you've ever chosen to ignore a toxic remark online, you already know the liberating power of silence. In that moment, you take back your energy and deny others the control they're so desperate for. The same principle applies in real life. Whether it's with a combative coworker, an argumentative relative, or a disrespectful acquaintance, choosing silence preserves your dignity, disarms the other person, and leaves them without control over you. It's like standing in the eye of a storm, calmly realizing that while the winds may rage, you remain unshaken, unless you choose to be moved. Beyond just disarming others, this practice also grants you time. When emotions run high, it's far too easy to let impulsive words slip out, words you might wish you could take back. Silence offers a pause, a space to reflect, and a chance to respond not from anger, but from strength. As we just discussed, sometimes silence isn't just a way to avoid escalating a conflict, it's a tool that gives you a brief pause, allowing you to step back and observe the situation with a clearer perspective. That pause is exactly what the Stoics called inner stillness, the ability to remain calm even when chaos swirls around you. As Seneca wisely reminded us, it's better to stumble with your feet than with your tongue. A few moments of silence can save you from impulsive words, preserving both your peace of mind and your relationships. What's fascinating is that for those who expect a reaction, your silence often carries more weight than any words could. When you refuse to respond to disrespect, you force the other person to sit with their own words, with no distraction, no back and forth argument to shield them from the awkwardness of what they've said. Have you ever noticed how some people feel more uncomfortable in silence than in confrontation? That discomfort has a way of making them reflect, sometimes even realizing how petty or unnecessary their behavior truly was. In that sense, your silence becomes a mirror, quietly reflecting their own flaws back at them, and you don't have to say a single word. And this is a key principle in Stoic practice. Silence isn't avoidance or passivity. You're not ignoring the situation, nor are you condoning poor behavior. You're simply choosing not to let it dictate your emotions or control your reactions. Of course, there are moments when speaking up is necessary, to draw boundaries, to defend your values, or to protect yourself, but there's great wisdom in knowing when silence will serve you better. Because when you can master the art of choosing silence intentionally, you hold on to your power. You maintain control over your actions, your emotions, and your peace of mind. This lies at the heart of what Stoic thinkers have always emphasized. True peace doesn't come from controlling others, but from mastering yourself. And one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to practice that mastery is through silence. As you get comfortable with choosing silence when it matters, you'll find your mind becomes clearer, your relationships more peaceful, and your inner strength growing steadily day by day. The truth is, we're not weak when we stay silent, we're demonstrating confidence, calm, and a refusal to be pulled into chaos on someone else's terms. In the previous section, we talked about not letting other people's insecurities and words dictate your emotions. And the moment you truly stop internalizing those negative things is the moment you reclaim your emotional freedom. This, in fact, is one of the most important Stoic principles. Others do not determine your worth, you do. Their actions, attitudes, and words belong to them. Your inner peace, however, depends entirely on whether you allow those behaviors to disturb your state of mind. So, whenever someone disrespects you, pause and ask yourself, is their opinion really about me? Or is it about something unresolved within them? More often than not, you'll realize it has little, if anything, to do with you. Maybe they're carrying personal frustrations, work-related stress, or the weight of their own fear of failure. Whatever it is, it's theirs to bear, not yours. The more you understand this, the more you'll develop a steady, unshaken mind, one that remains calm and composed in the face of external negativity. This is the kind of inner stillness that Stoic philosophy teaches us to cultivate. When you stop taking things personally, you unlock a powerful kind of freedom. You no longer waste precious time and energy on things beyond your control. And this aligns perfectly with the core teachings of Stoicism. Epicurus once wisely said, "It's not things themselves that upset us, but the judgments we make about them." In other words, the meaning you attach to someone's behavior is entirely your choice. If you choose to see their disrespect as a reflection of their own struggles, rather than a reflection of your worth, the emotional sting begins to fade, leaving behind clarity and peace. Of course, this doesn't mean you should ignore all feedback. At times, criticism carries valuable insight that can help you grow. But it does mean you need to be selective, filtering out the noise that adds no value to your life. Not every rude comment or harsh remark deserves your attention. And perhaps one of the most valuable Stoic lessons of all is learning how to let go of what doesn't belong to you. In the previous part, we talked about how not every situation is worth your time and effort to resolve, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to simply walk away. Now, let's continue with this story. James, the person I just mentioned, had endured years of disrespect and belittling remarks from his boss. That constant lack of appreciation slowly eroded his self-esteem, causing him to doubt his own abilities and question his worth. But one day, after receiving yet another demeaning comment, James realized something profoundly important. He couldn't control how others treated him, but he could choose whether or not to stay. And so, James decided to leave his job. He didn't walk out in anger, but with quiet confidence and a sense of peace. It wasn't an easy decision, but the moment he stepped out of that office, he felt as though a heavy weight had been lifted off his shoulders. That simple act of leaving was how James reclaimed his sense of self-worth. Not long after, he found a new job, a place where his efforts were genuinely valued and his dignity respected. What's remarkable is that this wasn't the end of James' story. It was, in fact, the beginning of a much better chapter. And now, I want to ask you, are there situations in your life silently draining your spirit, simply because you're afraid to walk away? Perhaps it's a relationship that no longer aligns with your values, or a job where disrespect has become the norm. The truth is, not every situation can be saved, and not every battle is worth fighting. Sometimes, the wisest and most effective response is to step away from the conflict entirely. This isn't about running from challenges, but about recognizing when a battle is no longer worth the peace of your mind. Seneca once reminded us, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." Life is far too short to waste in places that strip away your joy and dignity. Walking away is not an act of defeat, it's a powerful statement. A way of saying, "I value myself too much to remain where I am not respected." And walking away doesn't always have to be a physical move. Sometimes, it's about mentally and emotionally detaching from people or situations that no longer deserve your energy. Maybe you can't quit your job right away, but you can begin setting emotional boundaries, refusing to take insults personally, and gradually detaching from toxic dynamics. Or perhaps you can't completely cut ties with a family member, but you can limit your interactions and step away from conversations that leave you emotionally drained. In every case, the act of walking away, whether physically or emotionally, is a promise you make to yourself, to protect your peace and to build a mind resilient against the negativity around you. Even more, walking away sends a clear message to the world about the standard you expect. When you refuse to tolerate disrespect, people quickly learn that your time and energy are valuable, and you won't waste them on relationships or situations that conflict with your values. This is one of the core principles in Stoic philosophy, knowing when to engage and when to step back. As Marcus Aurelius wisely put it, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. B1. Walking away from disrespect isn't just about leaving negativity behind, it's about creating space for better things to come into your life. It's about choosing growth, peace, and self-respect over needless conflict and struggle. Because in the end, walking away isn't about giving up, it's about choosing yourself. In the previous section, we talked about letting go of what no longer serves your peace and well-being. That you are not defined by how others treat you, but by how you treat yourself. And naturally, this brings us to another important lesson: be mindful of the people you choose to have around you in this life. Because dealing with constant disrespect and negativity can be emotionally draining. It not only saps your energy but gradually chips away at your sense of self-worth. That's why one of the most valuable Stoic lessons is to surround yourself with positive people, those who genuinely value, uplift, and remind you of your worth. No matter what kind of negativity you encounter out there, modern Stoicism teaches us that while we can't control how others treat us, we absolutely have the power to choose the company we keep. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And those thoughts, whether we realize it or not, are deeply influenced by the people around us. When you're constantly surrounded by criticism, belittlement, or toxic environments, it slowly becomes easier to internalize those messages. You start questioning yourself, maybe I really am not good enough? But when you intentionally build a circle of positive, supportive people, it's like having a mirror that reflects your true worth back to you every time the outside world tries to make you feel small. I remember the story of a close friend of mine, Paul. He was stuck in a toxic job for years because he believed he had no other choice. His boss would constantly belittle him, dismissing every effort he made. Over time, Paul started to believe the problem was within himself. It wasn't until he finally opened up to his circle of trusted friends, people who truly knew his worth, that things began to change. They reminded him of who he really was, of the value he brought into the world, and that he didn't have to endure one more minute in that place. Their encouragement gave him the strength to leave and pursue a healthier, brighter path. That's the power of having the right people around you. They see your worth on the days you forget it yourself. This principle lies at the heart of modern Stoicism. Focus on what you can control. You can't control the disrespect of others, but you can absolutely control who you give your time and energy to. Positive, supportive people help keep your mindset steady, like an anchor in stormy seas. They don't just protect you from negativity, they actively fuel your inner resilience and help you move forward with clarity. These might be family members who remind you of your strengths, friends who cheer you on towards your goals, or mentors who offer wisdom when the path ahead seems uncertain. In today's fast-paced world, where we're all juggling work, family obligations, and personal challenges, it's all too easy to overlook the importance of community. But just like iron sharpens iron, we need people who challenge us to grow and strengthen our resilience against negativity. These relationships aren't just about comfort, they give us the clear perspective we need to confidently walk away from toxic situations. Because one of the most powerful lessons in Stoic philosophy is this: your worth is never defined by how others treat you. Picking up from where we left off, we talked about how your worth isn't determined by how others treat you, but by how you treat yourself. And one of the clearest ways to honor yourself is by choosing to surround yourself with companions who truly respect, value, and uplift you. When you intentionally create space for these kinds of relationships, you're not just chasing comfort, you're building an environment where you can genuinely thrive. It's important to remember that having supportive people in your life isn't only about having a shoulder to lean on during the tough times. It also means forging meaningful, enriching connections when things are going well. The people you keep close should challenge you, inspire you, and hold you accountable to your values, especially when life tests your patience or shakes your confidence. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. These relationships aren't casual friendships. They are investments in your mental, emotional, and even spiritual well-being. The people around you shape not only how you see yourself but also how you face and respond to the inevitable challenges that life throws your way. And just as they lift you up, you too have the power to be a source of encouragement for those in your circle. It's a mutual exchange, one built on trust and respect, where everyone involved helps reinforce the kind of relationship that matters. When you're surrounded by people who truly care about your well-being, you begin to develop the quiet strength needed to walk away from disrespectful situations without guilt or hesitation. There's no longer a need to prove your worth to those unwilling or unable to see it. Having this kind of solid support behind you gives you the confidence to move through life with greater ease, knowing that your value isn't up for debate or dependent on anyone's opinion. This, in itself, is one of the core teachings of Stoicism, that your peace comes from within. Yet, a strong, reliable support system can help you preserve and nurture that inner peace, especially in moments when life feels overwhelming. As Epictetus once said, "He who associates with fools will learn nothing." And isn't that true? The people you choose to spend your time with directly influence the quality of your thoughts and emotions. By choosing to invest your time and energy in those who share your values and uplift your spirit, you're protecting your inner peace and fortifying your resilience against life's unavoidable hardships. It's worth taking a quiet moment now to reflect on this. Who's in your circle? Are there relationships that need to be strengthened? Or perhaps connections you've outgrown, ones that quietly drain your energy or cloud your clarity? Walking away from toxic people becomes so much easier when you know you have a solid circle of people who truly care about you standing behind you. And remember, the goal isn't to isolate yourself, but to build deep, meaningful relationships that nourish your growth and align with the kind of life you want to live. Modern Stoicism reminds us that while true strength must come from within, the right people can help reveal that strength on the days you feel lost. Your worth is not, and never will be, defined by how others treat you. It's reflected in how you treat yourself and in the company you choose to keep. Surround yourself with those who respect, encourage, and inspire you. In doing so, you lay the foundation for a life built on inner peace, quiet strength, and resilience. And when the time comes to face disrespect or difficult situations, you'll know you have a circle of support to lean on, a steady reminder that you're never walking this path alone. This is one of Stoicism's greatest secrets: choose your companions wisely, and you'll find the strength to stay true to your values, no matter what life throws at you. Picking up from our last reflection, surrounding yourself with people who respect you is vital. But equally important is how you respond when that respect is missing. This is where your personal boundaries come into play. Setting firm boundaries and walking away from toxic situations, or choosing silence in moments that don't deserve your energy, is one of the clearest ways to show how much you value yourself. As Marcus Aurelius once wisely noted, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The way you think about yourself, and the standards you hold in your interactions, ultimately shapes how others treat you. You deserve kindness, dignity, and fairness, but here's a truth many forget: it's your responsibility to teach others how to treat you. You do this not with grand speeches, but through consistent action, by showing them, clearly and calmly, what you will and won't accept. In today's fast-paced world, where disrespect can come from colleagues, friends, or even family, it's easy to slip into the trap of believing that poor treatment says something about you. But Stoic wisdom teaches us to detach from that mindset. Someone else's behavior is a reflection of their own inner turmoil, not your worth. The real question isn't whether people will respect you, it's whether you respect yourself enough to enforce your own standards. How often do we quietly accept disrespect, just to keep the peace? Maybe you've laughed off a hurtful joke from a friend, or let a colleague's rudeness slide because it felt easier than making a scene. But every time you allow someone to treat you poorly without consequence, you quietly lower the standard for how you deserve to be treated. True self-respect isn't just about good intentions, it demands action. Boundaries don't set themselves, they need to be established and defended. I once knew a man named Stephen, a well-respected manager with a challenging team member. This person constantly undermined him, interrupted him during meetings, and spread negativity within the team. For months, Stephen tolerated it, hoping that patience and kindness would eventually change the person's behavior. But as you might guess, it didn't. The disrespect only grew, and Stephen found himself increasingly stressed, frustrated, and doubting his own leadership. Finally, Stephen chose to apply one of Stoicism's most powerful lessons. He stopped waiting for others to offer respect and started creating it within himself. He calmly called a meeting, laid out clear boundaries, and explained the consequences of continued disrespect. It wasn't about anger, retaliation, or trying to win a power struggle. It was about protecting his peace of mind and preserving his dignity. And the moment Stephen took control, everything shifted. The difficult team member adjusted their behavior, and Stephen walked away from the situation with his self-respect intact, having set a new standard for how he expected to be treated. This story holds a powerful truth for all of us. While you cannot control how others behave, you can always control how you respond. Modern Stoicism reminds us that we have the power to shape our lives by deciding what is acceptable and what isn't in our relationships. If someone can't meet your basic standard of respect, it doesn't reflect your value, it's simply your invitation to either enforce your boundaries or walk away. As Seneca said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastering yourself means refusing to tolerate anything that diminishes your sense of worth. And here's something often overlooked: self-respect isn't just about setting boundaries with others. It's about setting them with yourself too. This means learning to say no to thoughts, habits, and behaviors that pull you away from the person you want to become. If you constantly seek approval or allow other people's opinions to dictate your worth, it's time for a reset. A strong, iron mind built on Stoic principles knows that worthiness isn't something to be negotiated with others. It's something you cultivate within, quietly, steadily, and without apology. When you respect yourself deeply, everything changes. Continuing from what we've explored, when you learn to protect yourself, you'll notice that the relationships you attract will reflect that same respect. Modern Stoicism teaches us that our peace is non-negotiable, and it's our responsibility to defend it. Whether you choose to set a boundary, respond with calm silence, or walk away altogether. The true power lies in knowing that your worth is not defined by how others treat you, but by how you treat yourself. If someone cannot treat you with kindness and respect, the most respectful thing you can do is walk away and protect your peace. This isn't about anger or resentment. It's about choosing to live according to your values, free from the control of others' behavior. In the end, the lesson is simple but profound. Respect begins within. When you carry yourself with dignity, you set the standard for how others will treat you. Those who cannot meet that standard will naturally fall away. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The strength to demand respect, the courage to walk away when necessary, and the wisdom to know that your worth is not up for debate. All of these come from within. This is the essence of Stoic principles, taking control of your inner world so that no outside force can disturb your peace. When you live with self-respect, guided by Stoic rules, you'll find that relationships and situations that no longer serve you will naturally fade away, leaving space for people and experiences that align with your values. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video and explore these Stoic principles with us. Learning how to handle people who don't respect you isn't always easy. But by applying these insights, whether it's setting boundaries, responding with silence, walking away when needed, or surrounding yourself with supportive people, you reclaim control over your peace and well-being. Modern Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from mastering ourselves, and every small action you take to protect your dignity is a step toward building that inner strength. Remember, your value isn't tied to how others treat you, it's determined by how you treat yourself. The way you carry yourself and the standards you set show the world that you are worthy of respect. And over time, people will treat you according to those standards. If you found this video helpful, I encourage you to share it with someone who might need these reminders. Because we all encounter disrespect at some point, these lessons can help us rise above it. Let's build a community of strength, respect, and resilience, where we lift each other up and live by the Stoic rules of peace and self-mastery. Your journey towards self-respect is one worth sharing, and by spreading these ideas, you become part of something bigger, a movement toward living a more intentional, peaceful life. If these messages resonate with you, please like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to Stoic Scrolls for more insights on applying modern Stoicism to everyday life. Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss our next video, where we'll continue exploring Stoic lessons to help you build a strong mind and face life's challenges with clarity and confidence.